Hello and welcome to the Total Mental Performance Podcast. My name's Dan. I head up the entry-level coaching division at 20 to 50 client mark. And today I have got sat with me a TMP superstar called Lucy Cooke. Lucy and I are coming towards the end of the Evolution program. And Lucy's absolutely smashed it, which I'm sure we'll get into today and talk a little bit about your story, how you got into coaching and how you have found the past few months. Lucy, welcome. How are you?
I'm really good. A bit tired after a long drive, but generally we're really good. We're really good. Thank you for asking. How are you, Dan?
I'm very good as well. Thank you. As you can tell by my face, I'm sunburnt and my forehead is very sore. But other than that, I'm very good. Yeah, good. Very good. Thank you. So what I usually like to do in these is to just give a bit of an introduction into your pathway into coaching.
Sure.
Really. So if you could start by talking me through how you found coaching, and then we'll go a little bit more into who you are today.
Sure. So I probably found coaching through my actual start of the fitness journey. So I went to uni, got into psychology because I was just told, you're smart, you should go to uni. So like, okay, I'll do uni. Don't really have a clue what I'm doing, but I'll do this whole uni thing, and if I get a degree, I can probably get a job out of it. And in my first year of uni, I got my first PT. And it was towards probably like a year working with my PT that I thought, wow, this is amazing. I know I want to help people. I've always known I've got a passion for helping and supporting people, but I didn't know where I wanted to do that. And it just, like a light bulb moment, those shower moments that you have in the shower, like, oh, makes sense. I want to help people. I'm enjoying fitness. Let's do a PT course. So I got my PT qualifications, got a job in the gym. And within 3 months of joining the gym, COVID happened. So we forced into lockdown, and I literally just started online coaching as a passion project. I was working with a coach at the time. I knew it existed. I didn't really know what I was doing with it, but I just thought, it's something to do here to pass the time. A few people were inquiring, I can just have a bit of a side hustle. And as COVID carried on and I was back in the gym, the online just built. Like, it just organically started to grow, and I got to a tipping point where it was like, right, I've got a very good client base in the gym, I've got a very good client base online, but I'm very torn. What do I do? And I just found that my passion was online, because I was helping a much broader spectrum of people, because in a gym, your niche is your local people, and I was able to help them more because I was able to go very holistic. I was able to actually use some of my psychology degree, go into the mental well-being side of things, the mindset, and the results were just better. They were speaking for themselves, and went all in October 2021, and the rest is history from there.
Amazing. That psychology degree is really quite interesting because it does add a layer of depth that not all coaches are able to offer. So how have you integrated your psychology degree into the work that you do with your clients?
A lot of sort of social psychology, so understanding pressures, understanding mindset, understanding what makes people perform certain ways, and understanding maybe why people are the way they are. So a lot of developmental psychology delves into the experiences we have when we're younger and how that can shape people, so how, like, the different attachment types. And it's just basically bringing all these things together. And when I take on a client, I never just see someone as face value. So if they say, for example, they struggle with overeating, I never just think, okay, they're greedy or whatever. I think, right, so have they had past experiences of like dieting being brought up with them throughout their childhood, and if they internalize these messages, have they had any trauma throughout their life? So I'm not going to say who, but I've got a client now who's had some really deep family trauma, and as a result, all of that has led to her believing that she is a failure and that, you know, bad things happen all the time, which impacts their decision making. So it's understanding all these things and bringing that into my coaching, which really, really does help. And it's I really enjoy doing it.
I can imagine. Does that give you an added layer of confidence that you're able to enter conversations with where others might not feel so confident? Because something which empowers all great coaches to be the best that they can be is to be able to hold space for clients, right?
Sure.
And have a really challenging at times conversation, but that comes, the confidence to do that comes with the knowledge that you know how to handle that conversation and manage the energy of that conversation. So when clients present with problems like you've just described there, how do you feel entering a conversation with them?
I think I do definitely have that confidence, but what is given back is like the feedback loop. So one of the biggest bits of feedback that I get from clients and people when they're recommending our service is that Lucy understands us, Lucy listens, Lucy's there for you. She knows how to communicate with us. She's at the other end of the phone. She knows how to listen, and I get that feedback a lot. So sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm actually using my psychology degree here, but I think I use it more than I realize because I can understand different communication styles, and I never like sit and consciously think about the different theories. I kind of just implement it as I go. And yeah, I think it does help. It really does help because I never look at someone and think, oh, I don't know how to speak to them. I just can manipulate my coaching style around them.
I hear you. Well, all anyone is doing at any point in time is just regurgitating ideas, right?
Mm-hmm.
And going to university is a really valuable way of conditioning your mind to think within a certain frame.
Sure.
And that information which you would have picked up at university is conditioning you and solidifying you and empowering you to have those difficult conversations with people. So it might not feel like you're using it at times, but everything that you've learned over your course in your time at university, that's helping, and it's
Sure.
empowering those conversations. Something else which you said, which is really interesting, is a lot of people aren't aware that the experiences that they've had throughout their childhood impact their adult life. And something which you have experienced firsthand, but we do almost as the number one tool within our one-to-ones at TMP is a timeline reconsolidation. And a lot of people find this quite weird when they do it for the first time. And it is arguably weird because what we're doing is we're opening the door to your unconscious mind, and that can be quite overwhelming and challenging at times because there's a lot going on in there that people just aren't aware of. But the main aim of utilizing something like a timeline reconsolidation process is to first understand what the presenting problem is in the present day. Let's use a belief of I'm not good enough or I'm not worthy, something like that. That isn't born in the present day. That's born at some point in the past.
Yeah.
So what a timeline allows us to do is to disconnect from our experience, dissociate from it, and travel back along in time to whatever the point in time was whereby that belief was formed. And that could be formed in a variety of different ways. Neglect and abuse and all of these kind of problems are likely causes where something like that will form from. But the point is, it's not born in the present day. So you having that knowledge and taking that with you into your client one-to-ones is a really, really powerful place to be. Staying on the topic of that timeline reconsolidation, what would you say the most powerful, profound experience that you had within the one-to-ones that we did together was?
I think it was one of our first sessions. So when we first ever did this timeline, and we went back to when I was pretty young, and those like random events just came out, and none of these events were anything like significant or traumatic. They were just very, very small events that happened in my past that made me understand and realize, okay, this is where my self-limiting beliefs is coming from. This is where this fear of not being good enough is coming from. And I think what the most powerful thing was the fact that they're not significant events. You think it's going to be the big rejections, the big things, and it was actually just these little small things that I'd almost forgotten even happened. I'd parked somewhere in my memory that came to light. And I think what that really showed me is that we often think that it's big trauma that influences us. So people will have a divorce, a breakup, a bereavement, and that's going to change them for life. But it could actually be just these small little triggers that have a bigger lasting impact, because you probably don't try and cope with them. Because if someone dies, it's normal to, be sad and, deal with it, maybe get some sort of counselling. But when you have little things, you just kind of leave it because you don't think it's significant, but it actually can be.
Yeah, trauma doesn't need to be a newsworthy event.
No.
It can be anything seemingly benign on the surface, because trauma isn't about what happens to us insofar as what we see, what we experience, what we feel. Trauma is about what happens inside of us as a result of what's happened to us. And I always use phobias as a way to explain this in a succinct and easy to understand way, because a phobia of a spider, for example, especially in the UK, we don't have any deadly spiders in the UK, yet there are so many people who are terrified of spiders. Why? Because when they're very young, they don't have a lot of reference material to compare that spider against. It's binary. It's this thing is going to kill me, even though it's probably a tiny little money spider. But that then gets stored as any spider is going to kill me. Well, that's trauma. It's something which on the surface is seemingly minor, but as life goes on, and that is formed at our foundational point of who we are, it becomes something quite serious and quite severe. So it's a really important point that trauma isn't something which needs to be perceived as massive. So a series of small events were what you found to be the most profound for you. Another thing that we were working on was your body image.
Yes.
Because you've had some challenges in the past around food and image. Could you tell us a little bit about that and what was going on for you at a time when it was at its most difficult for you?
Sure. So I'm quite open about this, and if people know me, they may know, but if not, I come from an eating disorder background. So when I was 17, I was diagnosed with anorexia. So I went through that it was probably a good sort of 2-3 years of my life, got quite ill with it and made well, they say a full recovery, but I fully believe you can't ever recover. I think it's something that stays with you for life. It's just learning to cope and manage and how to live with it. And over sort of the last year or so, I've had some health issues come to light, which have meant that my goals, and my initial goal was bodybuilding. I really wanted to get on stage. I really wanted to be a physique athlete. And because of that, what's gone on with my health, I've had to go, do you know what? No, I can't do that. I've got to just focus purely on getting my health as good as it can be. And whether that is down to, we think it's potentially a link of series of, I obviously had the eating disorder, and then I've just had like series of diets for years on end, because I've just done the whole, gaining, dieting cycle. I'm now in a position where my natural female hormones are really, really low, which has led to issues with bone mineral density. So I've got worse bone mineral density at the moment than someone who's gone through the menopause, which has had a crossover effect into my thyroid, which has had a massive impact on my energy, my joints, my mood. So at the moment, on the outside, people might look at me and think, oh, fitness, but healthy. I'm not internally. And in order to get that back or improve it, I can't be doing diets. I can't be my leanest self, which comes with the past experience kicking in, because we've identified that there is a lot of meaning attached to that body type, but also the pressure as well, that I am a fitness person on Instagram who does coaching, who people look up to, and I feel that pressure to look a certain way because people aspire to it. So that's the pressures we've had recently.
Yeah, but you've made some massive breakthroughs recently. There was one moment about 2/3 of the way through the program where we'd been doing a lot of deeper work, particularly around this body image and comparison puzzle that you've just described there. And you hit burnout, ultimately.
Yeah.
It all came crashing down and it all just came to a head. So there are going to be a lot of coaches out there who are resonating with this story insofar as there might be a point in the past whereby they have been in much better physical shape than they are right now, and they feel a certain pressure to conform to that and live up to that because that's what their clients are aspiring to be like, or potential clients are aspiring to be like. Now, continuing to chase that is inherently dangerous because it's an unrealistic expectation to place upon yourself, and it does lead to burnout like it did with you. What would you say to coaches who are in a similar position, who need to reconsider what the long-term strategy is?
I think it's thinking long-term as well. So yes, my clients thought that my body when I did my photo shoot was amazing, but my message is never that this is what we want to do all the time. I would got to that place, and when I'd been my leanest self, I was there for very, very short time periods. And obviously back in the day, it was unhealthy. And my message is all around longevity. It's confidence. It's being healthy, being happy, being confident. And that doesn't just come in those little pockets of time where you're your leanest self. And that's what people come to me for, because it's the overall confidence. Yes, they want to maybe get to a healthier body weight or a body they're more comfortable in, but it's about being realistic and sustainable. And if that is what you are putting out there. And regardless to whether you do, competitors, photo shoots, you know that you can't be there the whole time. So even if that's your niche, that's what you're getting out there still has to be that, well, what body can you sustain long term? And not only just about the physical, but internals as well. Because I'm in a position now where I'm actually not 100% sure how reversible some of this stuff is. I don't know how fixable some of this stuff is, which might mean that I'm 25 this year with, may get osteoporosis diagnosed. I might not be able to have kids. I might have, all these health issues, which are not freaking worth having a set of abs for. Because I would rather have the opportunity for kids and a family and not have, bad bones and bad joints and all these things which we think about at 50, 60, just to look a certain way. And I think if more people can think about what they're delivering for their clients, not only for that immediate now, but what you're bringing them long term within their self-perception, within their mental well-being, and also their physical, I think that will change our perspective on it quite a lot.
Really helpful. Thank you. What you're doing is actually really commendable insofar as going above and beyond and looking at longevity. A lot of people have concerns about the coaching industry being oversaturated with coaches. And it is. There are a lot of people who are doing this now, but pretty much every industry is oversaturated at this point. You've got two different kinds of businesses in any industry. You've got average and you've got outstanding. The average coaching businesses are, come in, I'll get you abs in 8 weeks or whatever it might be. It's that very kind of surface level, I am here, I want to be here. But that's not going to cut it anymore. You have to be doing something more than that. And what you're describing in the coaching that you're offering is going above and beyond and saying, let's be realistic about this, because it's just not sustainable to be at sub 10% body fat year round. That's not a healthy place to be. The cycles which you were talking about there insofar as dieting and then gaining again, dieting, gaining again, is that a healthy way to approach fitness, would you say, or is there a better way to do it?
I think it's going to be individual dependent. I think it has its time and its place. If you are wanting to better your physique and you are very serious about it, obviously, I'm not going to argue with the science that, if you want to be super lean, you have to do that. And if you want to build muscle, you have to do that. But I think long term, I think more people would benefit from just being at that place where they're pretty much maintaining, and then they can just ever so slightly push or pull. So for example, they're maintaining, they've got a holiday, they want to feel a bit better, they can just, pull back for a little bit. But I think this whole cutting, bulking cycle has become almost glamorized a bit. It was just purely bodybuilding, pretty much, that people were doing that. But now everyone seems to be in these cycles. And I think there's not enough value placed on, well, what about just maintaining? Because most of the people that come to me aren't really interested in cutting and bulking. Like maybe they want to do it for a bit, they want to lean down, they want to get to a place they're comfortable, but we want to get them to that place where they're comfortable and be like, well, how do you sustain this for life? Because this is ultimately what you want to do. So I think it has its time and its place, but I don't think it's forever. And again, I don't think that's talked about enough as to the maintenance. And I think maintenance just doesn't sound fun, does it? Like you're dieting, leaning down, seeing abs, seeing this is exciting. Doing all this, being able to eat all this food and, gain all this muscle, that's exciting. But just maintaining it's not glamorous, which I think is why people don't go down that route. But I think it is glamorous to be able to live your life comfortable, confident, happy, healthy for the long term without really having to think about adding calories, doing cardio, doing steps. It's just living.
Yeah, I completely agree. And there can be a lot of similarities drawn between that and your mental development or psychological development, emotional development. When I first started doing therapy, I was doing therapy once a week because I had a lot to work through. That went down to 2 days a week. Confused myself, yeah? Once a week, and then to twice per month. And then once per month, and then once per quarter. And now I just check in at that once per quarter because it's maintenance. I don't necessarily go to therapy sessions with really big, heavy stuff to work on, but there's always something to just kind of chat through and make sure that everything's moving in the right direction. And what you probably have found with your long-term clients is it becomes more about accountability than anything else. It's not turning up with really big puzzles to solve. No. It's just checking in and making sure that everything's moving in the right direction, making a few fine tweaks here and there, just like we do on our momentum program. After people have come to the end of evolution, they just want that accountability. They just want people to say, are you still moving in the right direction? If not, what needs to change? What do we need to do? Going through those fine little tweaks here and there. So something else which we were working on was a fear of failure.
Yes.
And that fear of failure was causing you to overinvest your time, become quite fearful of checking messages, and resistant to the idea of really pushing your business beyond that natural ceiling, which kind of comes in for coaches at that 50 to 60 client mark. How did you approach that, and what shifts have you made to help let go of that fear of failure?
I think the biggest thing was actually understanding why I had that fear of failure, because I didn't really know what it was. I just knew I had all this anxiety attached to my business, but I didn't know what it was and I didn't know why. Like I was like, I'm constantly checking messages. I'm constantly, if I go and a client drops off, I feel really, really sad. I feel really, really anxious. And I wasn't really sure, is this just normal? Is this what self-employed life is like? Because there is uncertainty in self-employed life. We could, in theory, lose every single client we had tomorrow. We just don't know what the path's going to take. And I just thought, maybe, is that normal? But what we did together was understand that this fear of failure is, like we discussed earlier from that timeline therapy, something that I've just internalized over years. So just a series of events have just strengthened that core belief. And then transitioning into coaching, whenever something happens that would potentially move me away from progressing, I then have this like fight or flight panic response. And that was just crippling me, because it will be like, right, I need to check my messages all the time, because if I'm not responding to clients, they're going to think I'm not on them. They're going to leave. It was if a client left, I would take it so personally and be like, oh my God, I'm losing a client. This is it. I can't do this. It's failure. If I don't work all the time, I can't be pushing my business forward. If I'm taking a day off, I'm not moving forward, because that's, everything could fail. It was just constantly like that. It was really, really negative. And it was starting to eat into my passion and enjoyment, because it just felt like this constant, like I would wake up, think we got to near when we reached that burnout, I was literally waking up feeling like my chest was tight, I was anxious, just thinking of all the things I need to do, and if I don't do them, it's the end of the, it was horrible actually. It was a really horrible place to be.
It was, yeah. But sometimes you've got to hit the bottom before you're able to bounce back up.
Yeah.
And that burnout was a real turning point, as it has been for me in the past. I'm not suggesting people do this, but sometimes you need to push yourself past the breaking point to realize what the breaking point is. So you can go, oh, okay, I get where that is now. I'm not going to be going anywhere near that.
Yeah.
At any point in time, ideally, you want to be pushing at about 80% capacity. A lot of factories will use this rule. If a factory runs 100% production capacity all the time, there's zero margin for error. And in the factory, things are going to fuck up. Things are going to go wrong. So you want a little bit of margin, so that when things do go wrong, you've got a bit of slack to play with. And I like to adopt the same approach when I'm doing one-to-ones or whatever work it is I'm doing throughout the week. Push into my edge at about 80%, because I've still got a little bit of room to play with. And many coaches have a tendency to be 100% all the time, expecting that the more I put in, the more I'll get out. And It just doesn't work like that. That's not how energy exchanges work. You can't put in 100% of your effort all the time, because you are going to burn out. It's a dangerous place to be. So for you, having shifted that fear of failure, you are now in a place whereby you're feeling a lot more content, you're feeling a lot happier and connected to your business. And to add to that, you've actually now got more one-to-one clients than you did when we first started working together over 4 months ago, when you were feeling stressed and anxious, which is some turnaround. That's really impressive. And now, to add to that even further, you're arriving at a place of realization and recognizing that you want to scale your business. And in order to scale your business, you need to step back from the coaching delivery and take more of a holistic, operational leadership type approach. So what's that journey been like for you, from being coach and now leader, business owner?
I think it's taken a while to adapt that identity. I've always just been like that, I am the coach Lucy. And I think, again, this is why I found it really challenging to let go. And I've had this chronic fear of failure, because I've just had attachment to everything. Like every single little task in the business I was attached to doing. When I'd ever maybe gotten help in the past with things, I'd still overlook what they were doing, and then like no, they've done it wrong, this, that and the other. And that just never allowed me to move forward. And I wish I'd been able to make this mindset shift, a while ago, as the business did start to grow. But I think what I have now realized is that by taking a step back, it just allows everything to move forward, because I can show up when I am with my coach head on with so much more energy and passion, because I'm not just burnt out and anxious about every little task all the time. the help for things that I really don't need to be doing myself mean that they're done at a much higher level, which again brings more people in, it gives more value to our clients. And ultimately what my mission was and why I got into coaching was to help people. And there's only so many people I can help on my own. I'm one person, and I want every single person that comes to work with us to have the highest experience. And if I just get to 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 clients whilst also doing everything, that's not going to happen. I'm just going to be okay. Whereas I want every person's experience to be great. So how do I do that? I give away things that I don't need to be doing. And I put that time into building up my second coach, Laura, at the moment, to basically do and she's doing an absolutely amazing job. And the future, the dream is just to bring more and more people in with the same passion, the same mission. And I can put that time and energy into making them amazing coaches so we can just help more and more people at that high level and quality.
That's cool. What excites you the most about the future of your business?
I think the fact that there is no ceiling. And I think it was always about impact over income. And what I'm now in a position to do mentally is just invest more to create this impact. And just the more we've done that, the more these opportunities are arising for us, the more not only results are we getting from like the transformations and the testimonials, but the opportunities that we are creating for these women to just better their lives is just becoming better and better and better as we go. And I think watching how much it's evolved over a very short time frame, I'm very excited to just think what the hell's going to happen in a year? Like where are we going to be? What lives can we impact? What degree can we impact people more than we already have? And that just, yeah, it's really bloody exciting.
Yeah, the impact you're having is vast, because one of the other breakthroughs that you made was raising your hand to your clients and saying, hey, I've recognized that I need to take some downtime here. And initially you met that with resistance. You said, I can't put this message in the group. What are they going to think of me? Panic. They're not going to like it.
I think the first time I mentioned, I was like, no, not doing that. Can't do that.
Yeah, it was very resistant.
Like, no chance, not.
Yeah, not going to do it.
Not negotiating it, not happening.
Yeah, but then when you did it, what happened?
It was welcomed. They were like, oh my God, yeah, are you not taking a day off? Why are you not taking a day off? They were just so wonderful about it, and they appreciate that I need that. And I always get little messages in client check-ins like, I hope you've had a lovely day off, hope you had some lovely time off. And I think they've seen it as well, that my energy has shifted so much more now, that when I show up on a Monday, I am so excited. I was never not excited, but because I was just never having that like relief and like move away from the business, I now come into Mondays for client check-ins and I'm literally like kid at Christmas, energized. And that just adds so much more value to them. So yes, they might get one day less contact time, but the amount of quality contact and energy they get from me has just gone from here to here by just taking that one day off. And ultimately it's one day, isn't it? Most people take 2 and have annual leave. I'm asking for 1 day off a week and maybe the odd day here and there. It's not really much, is it, when you look at it like that? No,
definitely not. And you have done an excellent job of firstly minimizing the things that were contributing to you not being able to show up powerfully, insofar as the difficult emotions that you are carrying around with you, because they often act almost as like this backpack of toxic emotional sludge that we carry around with us, and it's heavy, it's exhausting, it's tiring to carry that stuff around. So you've now emptied that backpack, point one, but then you've also optimized your schedule to help you show up powerfully and with energy. And that comes by way of minimizing the tasks that you're not enjoying, outsourcing, and maximizing your schedule to allow for downtime and time to recharge and re-energize yourself. That then allows you to show up powerfully for your clients, which is being received now. Yeah, amazing. So what worries you the most about the future of coaching? And this is just wide picture here. This isn't just your coaching business. This is just my curiosity being sparked here. What worries you the most about coaching? I think, and I have thought about this, is the long game, the long-term vision is I can do this now. Like this is, and it's a thing right now, like coaching is very much not a trend, but it's big. It's a lot of people are doing it. A lot of people are investing into it. But I don't know how long is that going to be a trend for. And ultimately I can't see myself doing this when I'm like in my 50s, 60s. Maybe there'll be a market and niche for it, who knows, but I don't know. But as much as I like to future pace myself for the future, I also don't like to spend too long thinking about what ifs, because I think
worrying about the past and worrying about the future it's what you're doing now that has the impact on things, right? Absolutely. You're living your life at this moment, and yes, I don't want to neglect, this is why I'm looking after my health, because I'm to do what I want now, live recklessly. I did that, and now I'm basically in a position that I don't want to be. So I will look into things like I'm starting to look into like pensions and investing, like all this adulting stuff. It's a bit scary, but a bit weird. But I'm doing that to look after the future me. But I'm also trying not to worry about, well, what if this happens? What if that happens? There's so many what ifs. We could have COVID 7.0. AI can come on and kill us all. What if, anything can happen? But where you're at right now is the most important thing. And I think worrying about the future can just drain and detach you from where you're at and living life presently and actually being able to be present and enjoy it. So I think about it, but I don't worry too much, because I know that will just take away from being able to enjoy where I'm at in life right now.
Yeah, well, one thing's for sure. If ChatGPT grows arms and legs, we're all fucked.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But you're right, though. The yeses are great. Nos are good, but it's the maybes that will kill you.
Absolutely.
And what if is firmly in maybe land.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe land is where anxiety lives, it's where overwhelm is, it's where stress is, it's where all of those difficult emotions that keep us stuck and in a perpetual state of panic and stress are. We don't want that.
No.
So, yes or no? Stick to the yes or no.
That's it.
So, final question for you, Lucy. In your opinion, how would you define total mental performance, having come towards the end of your evolution program?
Mm-hmm. I think what it is for me is it's not living a life without worry, stress, or anxiety, but understanding how do you manage that? How do you cope with it? Because I think people think that when you reach this point of optimal mental performance, people imagine it as a world without fear, a world without anxiety or stress, and it's like that's just not realistic. It's a part of human emotions. We have to have really strong, good days and strong bad days to appreciate both. We have to live on a spectrum. But I guess it's a bit like with the anorexia, right? I know they're still there, but how can I now learn to live with them? How can I learn to adapt those feelings? How can I use those to be positives so that I'm not feeling extreme negatives? They don't drag me down. They only bring me forward, because we need anxiety, a bit of worry to actually make informed decisions. Otherwise, you just live recklessly. You need a bit of stress sometimes to actually go, well, do you know what? I need to maybe, get a rocket on my backside and do a bit. But letting that become a positive rather than negative, and understanding when to push and pull. When things are too much, that I need to just think, it's not a case of, no days off, work harder. I know I need to pull back and do something to offset that. And I think that's where I'm at now, with that realization of these emotions are always going to be here. These feelings are going to be here, but I kind of know how to manage them now so that I don't reach those complete burnout points again. And I can just stay in a place where I can move my business forward, but most importantly, I can just continue to love it, because that's why I got into it.
Amazing. Thank you. And where can people find you on socials?
People can find me on all the socials. So Lucy_Lift Your Life is Instagram. Lift Your Life Coaching is our brand, so that's over on Facebook as well. I do actually have my own podcast if anyone will be interested. It's called Lift Your Life Podcast. So just search Lift Your Life on socials and I'll probably come up somewhere. If you're seeing yellow, that'll be me, because yellow is our branding colours. So yeah, that's where people can find us.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure.
Take care.